She initiated and led the Oniru feeding program in 2020. The target was Zero Hunger, commissioned to bring succor to vulnerable persons in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. But the community-targeted effort of Ms. Ayotola Jagun, native of Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, Nigeria, is just a little expression of the huge contributions to society by a woman who became the Chief Compliance and Governance Officer at Oando PLC. Under the program, 235 concerned citizens with the alias Humans of Oando came together to fund, feed, and protect communities in crisis. Ms. Jagun was brought up in a Catholic school and mentored by nuns. She said that gave her a good dose of God quite early in life.
The other aspect of my spiritual development came from my local church. So we lived on Calabar Street at the time, and just down the road on Addis Ababa was New Estate Baptist Church. And from a very early age, my parents were both Church of England. They had converted from Islam during their high school days, both of them. But they were periodic churchgoers. But one thing they did do was send us to the Baptist church every single Sunday, and actually developed a real passion and love for the preaching of the Reverend at the New Estate Baptist Church at the time, Reverend Bolarinwa, who, I mean, I loved his preaching. I loved hearing how he expounded the Word of God. So I would run away from Sunday school on the pretext that I was going to the toilet and run into the main church and just sit under his teaching. And so from the age of 8, I remember being in church one evening, and I would beg my parents to let us go to church in the evenings. And hearing him preach a very strong message on righteousness, and responding to the altar call and giving my life to Christ at that age. So from a very early age as well, I think the Lord was gracious enough to reveal himself to me.
That's a revelation that sharpened Ms. Jagun's sense of right and wrong and the need for integrity. Her father had a contributory role too.
We needed school fees paid, and I needed to buy some books. And I went to my father, saying, this is my list, this is what we need. And my father said, well, I'm sorry, I can't pay, I can't do anything now. And I was like, why not, because you always think that your parents, are providers, especially your father is a provider. He's always bought everything we needed. And I remember my father saying to me, well, I haven't paid my staff salaries. And I felt, why would you prioritize your staff salaries above us, your children? And he taught me a lesson that day, which has stayed with me for life. He said, these people leave their homes to go out to work, and they have put their sweat and blood into my business. And so I need to pay them at the end of the month, come what may, even if I have to borrow. They have families that they need to support. And until their families are sorted, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait. And I think that really challenged me as a person, because integrity is not just about not doing wrong in terms of what is obviously wrong, like not stealing, not lying. Integrity, I think, is also being a person of your word. And for me, my father was teaching me that if you've given your word to a group of people and they've relied on your word to deliver service to you, then they are entitled. You have to keep your word. And so for me, integrity very early on was about keeping your word.
At the workplace, Ms. Jagun found herself needing to drive the anti-corruption policy for her company. It came in the shape of her assistance in planning and moderating the United Nations Making Global Goals Local Business Africa 2020 Forum Anti-Corruption Breakout Session. She drops a corporate creed.
Where doing the right thing is not popular, we have to take a stand. We have to be willing, when we take a stand, to be judged according to that standard. And many times in being judged, be prepared to be misjudged, because a servant is not greater than his master. But I think you just have to also be able to stand on what you believe and not be moved, by what people are saying, not be moved by all the noise, and just know that in due season, you will reap the rewards.
A life of greed and graft has its implications. At the individual level, it subverts morals. Corporate corruption is just bad news at the level of governance.
It actually increases the cost of governance. It increases the cost of doing business. That is what corruption does. Because, and it becomes, therefore becomes unsustainable, which is what we've been talking about. So what I would say to people is, somebody might say, well, if I don't give a bribe, I won't get the job. There must be something else that you can do. And then again, it is, and this is where what we call collaborative initiatives come in, collective action comes in, where people working in the same industry, recognizing that there is a problem, whether it is to do with corruption, to do with bribery in a particular sector, can, under the auspices of a trade, an industry body, come together to deal with that problem.
Ms. Jagun, on her own, has a philanthropy that sponsors young girls through secondary school. She mentors them on how to become more useful to themselves and society. She has a recommendation on how a life of integrity can be sustained.
I think the more that we build a community of people who have integrity, who believe in a new Nigeria, a better Nigeria, then we will see that new Nigeria emerge, that better Nigeria emerge.
Those who know Ms. Ayotola deeply are proud of associating with her.
We're working to create a different society, a society where the reality isn't that corruption is rife. She has also worked diligently to ensure that we're sitting at the right tables internationally through the likes of the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the UNGC, and what we do is we're party to these initiatives, platforms, to see what other companies are doing, to see what other countries are doing, what are the learnings that we can take and we can bring into Nigeria and bring into a company like ours.
Ms. Jagun would go to any length to ensure that the right internal procedures and processes are followed. She will send you back if there are any anomalies, and she will ask the right questions. Ms. Jagun is devoted, fiercely devoted, to ensuring that leadership is accountable. And I think one thing that stands out for me is her devotion to service to mankind.